Yeah, I think that even though Emmanuel Macron and Chancellor Merkel sort of said different things there, they probably mean more or less the same thing. Angela Merkel was softer and she said that she wouldn't object to a delay in Article 50 because, of course, the other alternative is a no-deal scenario, and that would be indeed catastrophic for the EU, the UK, and the future relations of the two blocs. Emmanuel Macron was much firmer, of course. He made the point that the French would in no way support an extension unless there was a clear objective coming from Britain. Everybody wants this Brexit situation to be cleared up, and I think there's quite a bit of frustration, and people are quite flabbergasted that we've got just a few weeks to go till the UK is due to leave the European Union, and there's really no pathway decided as to how that will happen. So I think the member states, the 27 member states, are clear that they don't want a no deal. They do want the withdrawal agreement to be passed, but they can see that that's quite unlikely now. And what we've got left is the likelihood of a delay, but the question is, what's the delay for? And that would require some clear objectives, because again, this putting it off for the sake of it isn't really doing anyone any good.
Because before the British Prime Minister backed down and said she would allow a delay after all, the EU itself had been talking about a delay, but envisaging a much longer term one.
Exactly. The EU is looking at perhaps having a second referendum, and that would take several months. And then the EU has to consider the implications for the European Parliament elections if that request comes in, because the question is whether the UK would be obliged to hold parliamentary elections for the European Parliament and then possibly leave the EU a few months later if a second referendum happened and Brexit was the outcome again. There's also the idea of a very long-term delay, like 2 years, which I don't think is coming from Britain. And then there's the other delay that could come from Theresa May. I think what she's suggesting is that she would have a short enough delay in order to build more consensus within the House of Commons and then eventually get some sort of a withdrawal agreement over the line. It's still very confusing. I think that the EU just has to wait now and see what the request is from the UK, see how that meaningful vote goes on the 12th of March. But indeed, quite a lot of frustration here in Brussels.